Hi guys, it's me Ikegami from Wellbeing in Kyoto, in Japan. How are you doing today? Today, I want to explain one thing, the biggest difference between successful amateur runners and non-successful amateur runners. In Japan, the marathon season is approximately from November to March. So, at this time, I get tons of emails from my students and report how their races went and asked me to analyze their training. I've already analyzed over 500 amateur runners training program in the last 6 years. And the reason why they made a good race or a bad race depended on the person, of course. However, on the whole, there's one big difference between successful amateur runners and non-successful runners. That is, if they make peaking or not. What is peaking? Peaking is literally making a peak for your target race, but it's not tapering. Tapering is reducing the whole training load to get fresher and get more ready for your target race. And tapering takes only about 2 weeks. While peaking takes 6 to 12 months. Otherwise, you cannot make your peak, and tapering is only the last phase of peaking. Then, the question is how you can peak yourself for your target race. Well, there are many ways to explain it. Today, I will explain it in the following way. There are several workouts which you can simulate a race physically and psychologically. For example, if you run 20K at your marathon race pace, 20K at your marathon race effort, you'll know how fast you were able to run a full marathon. If you really run 20K at your marathon race effort honestly, or if you do 5 times 1,000 meter with 1 minute recovery at your 5,000 meter race effort, you'll know how fast you were able to run a 5,000 meter race. And let's say you did 5 times 1,000 meter with 1 minute recovery and each 1,000 meter 4 minutes sharp over 6 weeks, and you run a race 20 minutes sharp. In this case, if you do 5 times 1,000 meter with 1 minute recovery at 3:55, you are able to run 19:35. Make sense? You don't need to be Einstein. But the question is what you can do for arriving there. How can you do 5 times 1,000 meter with 1 minute recovery at 3:55? In this case, the difference is only 5 seconds per kilometer. So, most people think, if I work hard, I can make it sooner or later. It's not a completely wrong thought. However, my job is getting 4:30 marathoner to a sub-3 marathoner in 2 to 3 years. If I ask them to keep doing 20K marathon race effort runs, they cannot improve such a lot. Please recall the basic principle of training. The harder a workout is, the more difficult your body adapts to it. This is the reason why these specific workouts do not work well in a long-term vision. Let's think about this in a little different way. Specific workouts which you can simulate a race is tough, because you focus on volume and intensity at the same time. From 800 meter race to full marathon race, you need to combine speed and endurance. In other words, volume and intensity. That's why it's not easy. However, it's relatively easy to run long and slow or fast and short. The way of peaking is you focus on only speed in speed training and only endurance in endurance training. Also, whether your body adapts to a new training stimulus or not depends on what kind of stimulus your body has adapted in your whole life and in the last 1 to 3 months. Meaning, it's very difficult that your body adapts to 5 times 1,000 meter with 1 minute recovery at 3:30 if your body has not adapted to 400 meter 84 seconds pace well. Or simply, you cannot do that workout if your body has not adapted to 400 meter 84 seconds pace well. Enough well. Another example is, it's very difficult that your body adapts to 40K 5 minutes per kilometer pace if your body has not adapted to running 40K itself, no matter how slow it is. If your body has not adapted to 40K at 6 minutes per kilometer pace yet, then it's very difficult to adapt to 40K at 5 minutes per kilometer pace. So, if you want to adapt to a training stimulus, your body needs to adapt to lower training stimulus. And if you want to adapt to a lower training stimulus, your body needs to lower training stimulus first. And if you want to adapt to a lower training stimulus, your body needs to lower training stimulus. And on. Also, if you want your body to adapt to a stimulus, your basic fitness level should be enough high. Exactly speaking, your body should produce a certain amount of biological energy, which means, exactly speaking, adenosine triphosphate. You can produce more energy to improve your basic fitness level by increasing your total volume and the intensity of moderate runs. So, first of all, you need to focus on increasing your fitness level. And second, you need to focus on speed in speed training and endurance in endurance training, and gradually run slower and longer in speed training, and gradually faster and shorter in endurance training. The only exception is marathon. Actually, even in marathon preparation, you can use this idea. In fact, in the past, many Japanese top marathoners did a 60 to 100 kilometer run in training, or 8 hours walking in the beginning of the marathon preparation. And then they run shorter and faster, and finally they did 40K at 90 to 95% of their race pace. But imagine, what if I say you should do a 60K run first, and then gradually faster and shorter to your next target marathon race? How many amateur runners follow my instructions? It's unrealistic. It cannot be my business. Also, current top marathoners in Japan hardly run longer than 40K in training. Some runners still do a 50 to 70K run in training sometimes, but it's not a regular style anymore. But the basic idea is somehow similar in marathon training too. You need to focus on endurance in endurance training first, meaning you need to focus on increasing the distance of long runs first, and then increase the speed of long runs. In Japan, many amateur runners believe that it's absolutely good to do a 30K run on a race pace 3 weeks before the race, before your next target race. However, if their body have not adapted to slower long runs so far, their body cannot adapt to that training stimulus, or simply they cannot do that. Can you do a 30K run at 4:15 per kilometer pace? If you cannot do that, that means your body have not adapted to slower long runs so far. And after the race, they let them down, disappointed, and they believe that they are not talented. But the real reason is not because they lack talent, but they don't know how to pick themselves for one race. If you do all things which I mentioned so far, it takes 6 to 12 months. Again, it takes 6 to 12 months. It's not 6 to 12 weeks, but 6 to 12 months. You need that amount of time to prepare for one best race. So, here are 2 biggest reasons why non-successful runners are not successful. First, they do not have enough long-term vision. In other words, they cannot think things in 6 to 12 months. They just think about tomorrow or 1 week later, and they repeat doing things based on their feelings. They don't know how to train step by step. They try to jump up to the Empire State Building only by one jump. Of course, they cannot do it forever. However, if they jump as high as possible constantly, they are gradually able to jump higher. So, they think that one day they can jump up to the Empire State Building only by one jump. Of course, they cannot make it forever, while successful runners step upstairs, surely, and finally reach the top of the Empire State Building. Second, they take enough time, but they don't set the steps in the right way. The key of how to pick yourself for your next target race is setting one step is enough small. Always trying to go up to one higher level. Not always staying the same level, neither going up to 2 higher levels, but always trying to go up to one higher level, nothing else. For these reasons, non-successful runners are always non-successful, and successful runners are always successful. For normal runners in Japan, only 4% of runners run a full marathon under 3 hours, and about 2/3 of my students run a full marathon under 3 hours. Maybe the rest of 1/3 of them are going to run a full marathon under 3 hours in the future too, if they want to run a full marathon under 3 hours. I mean, some of them are track runners, so they don't want to run a full marathon. They just focus on middle distance races. Japanese championship, masters class. So they will never run a full marathon. But I think the most of rest of people are going to run a marathon in under 3 hours in the future too. So the biggest difference, so again, for normal runners, only 4%, and my students, about 70%, run a full marathon under 3 hours. The biggest difference is whether they know how to pick yourself for their target race or not. Also, remember, your best race in your life are made by repeating best many races of seasons. I hope this video helps you a lot. Lastly, if you want to learn more how to run faster, please click the link below to download my free ebook, 3 Factors You Get Faster Dramatically. 3 factors you should know to get faster dramatically without any injuries and overtraining. Thank you for your listening.